Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Wahidi Haikal Hasan, and we're Group 11 presenting on the topic Moorthy's case and the Article 121A. And hope you enjoy. Moorthy Maniam, also known as Muhammad Abdullah, was one of the Malaysian Army's corporal, and he was also part of the first group of Malaysians to ever climb Mount Everest. He was born and raised a Malaysian with Indian heritage and Hindu as his religious belief. In 1988, Moorthy joined the Malaysian Army Forces, and he was among the 10 people of Malaysians who climbed Mount Everest in 1997. And on the following year, exactly on the 14th of August 1998, Moorthy had an accident while training at an army camp in Malacca, which led him to paralyze himself from the waist down. And because of his injury, he had a mental disturbance, and he also suffered short-term memory loss. Moorthy converted to Islam on the 11th of October 2004, as stated in the Malaysian Army Forces record. Later on the 8th of March 2005, he filed an application to his superiors to be registered as a Muslim. After he filed his application, he never got his military card to be modified, so his name was still Moorthy Maniam, which should be Muhammad Abdullah, as that was his Islamic name, and his religion was still Hindu. One of Moorthy's brothers converted to Islam because he married a woman in Sabah who was Muslim, but his other brother never converted to Islam and still remained Hindu. After Moorthy converted to Islam, he was still eating pork, drinking alcohol. He remained uncircumcised, and he was still participating in Hindu religious celebrations. Moorthy fell from his wheelchair on 2005, leading him to a coma that he would never recover from. And eventually, he passed away on the 20th of December 2005. This controversial case regarding a true man's religious belief drew the nation's attention in 2005. Before Moorthy passed away, he actually confirmed that his official religion is Islam. But when his family found out about it, they denied the fact, and they filed an application to the High Court stating that Sina Sami was his valid wife and his official religion is Hindu. So, which means he should be buried in the Hindu way. The High Court accepted their appeal, but the Sharia court denied their appeal because he officially was registered as a Muslim, and which means that he should be buried in the Islamic way. This dispute between the family and the court led to 9 non-Malaysian ministers sending a memorandum to the Prime Minister to view the laws that affect the rights of non-Malaysian. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jordi Kulafo Rashidin, and my part is explain the case briefly. As mentioned in the introduction, on 20 December 2005, this controversial case regarding a man to religious belief was drew the nation's attention, which is the Moorthy case. Moorthy was a soldier who had climbed Mount Everest in 1997. Moorthy's case began when he converted to Islam without being known by his family and only known by his fellow soldiers. At the time, after Moorthy passed away, the problem was related to the clarity of his religion. In this case, the main question of this case is what is the true Moorthy religion? His wife believed that Moorthy is Hindu, and his beloved soldiers believed that he was Islam, which had converted to Islam on 11 October 2004 and was registered as a mu'alaf on 14 May 14 May 2005 in accordance with the provision of the Administration of Islamic Law. When Moorthy families found out that he converted into Islam, they denied that and filed an application to the High Court. The beginning of this case began when the body of Moorthy wanted to be taken by his wife from the hospital, but the hospital refused to release Moorthy's body in accordance with the decision of the Sharia court that Moorthy had converted to Islam before his death and would be buried in Islamic way. And then Kaliamal, or Moorthy's wife, did not accept the decision and she was appealed to the civil court to get the rights to bury her husband in the Hindu way. It is why the conversion of Moorthy was disputed because since 1998, Moorthy has dementia or lost the powers to concentration. And then the argument from the Kaliamal with Moorthy's dementia, he might have the influence from his friend to become a Muslim in the most informal ways. He may not have the means or intended to convert his religion into Islam. He also still practices Hindu rites and still celebrating the Deepavali. And also, Moorthy still drink the alcohol and eat the pork. And then Kaliamal did not have a court that she could use to obtain the justice or the remedies her application to provide the evidence. In this case, there are no definite rules to make judicial declaration on a person's religious status, because after the amendment of Malaysian Constitution on Article 121.a is intended to say that the civil court does not have jurisdiction over any matter that falls into the jurisdiction of the Sharia court. That's why Kaliamal application was rejected in civil court, and then the civil court just give the advice for Kaliamal to appeal in the Sharia court, but Kaliamal was not a Muslim and she cannot appeal in the Sharia court. And then it makes Kaliamal did not have a court that she could use to obtain the justice or remedies her application to provide the evidence. And then after the decision issued by the civil court, the hospital released his body to Federal Territory Islamic Affairs Department, which means Moorthy buried in the Islamic way in the Taman Ibu Kota Muslim Cemetery in Gombak. And the mode of burial for Moorthy, it was important for his family because the problem is not about the religious understanding only, but the family would face other complications arising from the denial of the right and opportunity to challenge Moorthy conversion, especially in the property that he belongs and the life of his family in the future, because it gives the disadvantages for Moorthy's family, like Kaliamal might be lost to custody of her children. After Moorthy passed away, he was posthumously promoted to the rank of sergeant, and his wife received a death benefit of 100,000 ringgit Malaysia and continues to receive his sergeant pension of 947 ringgit Malaysia per month. Even though the application of Moorthy's wife or the Kaliamal cannot be granted to bury her husband in the Hindu way, but she still gets the right to receive the death benefit and the pension money from the government for his family. And then that's all for me, and thank you very much.
My name is Muhammad Nova Fidantio, metric number 1812287. Now I will present the response of this case. So, Moorthy died on 20 December 2005 in the intensive care unit of the Kuala Lumpur hospital. Moorthy's body was taken over in December by Islamic authorities after the Sharia court decided that he had converted to Islam before his death on 20 December. Moorthy's wife, Kaliama, wants to claim his body to perform a Hindu cremation, but her request was rejected. His former college claimed that he embraced Islam last year and changed his name to Muhammad Abdullah. Moorthy apparently never informed his family of the conversion, and his wife Kaliama failed to convince the civil high court to give her custody of the body. Being a non-Muslim, she couldn't file a petition in the Sharia court. So she is asking the High Court, to order the Kuala Lumpur Hospital Director or KLH Director to hand over the body of Moorthy. Besides the KLH Director, she named the Federal Territory Islamic Affairs Department or JAWI Director and the Malaysian government as respondents. She is also seeking an injunction to restrain the Jawi director from claiming Moorthy's body from the hospital pending the disposal of the case by the court. She also wants a declaration that her husband was not a Muslim, but a Hindu who observed the Hindu customs before his death, and that all documents regarding his conversion to Islam are unlawful and null and void. The High Court said it has no jurisdiction over the Sharia court, implying that non-Muslims had no recourse to justice in the dispute with Muslims because they could neither appeal to the Islamic justice system nor the civil system. Finally, she filed a petition to the Court of Appeal to declare that the High Court had wrong in not having jurisdiction over the Sharia court. To support her petition in claiming her husband's body, Kaliama wrote a statement to support her claim that she did not know her husband had converted to Islam because he was a devout Hindu. The court announced on June 20, 2006 that they will make a decision in September. However, they stressed that their decision would only concern the jurisdiction of the civil high court, and that they would not decide whether Moorthy was a devout Hindu at the time of his death. But an ex parte decision had been set that the High Court still does not have jurisdiction over the Sharia court. So this case was pointed by Anwar Ibrahim as an example of how the government holds non-Muslims' rights.
Hi everyone, I'd like to discuss about the legal issue of this case. So first of all, I'd like to focus on argument of Sharia code. There have been various legal disputes which concluded that a Muslim who wished to leave Islam must get an authentication from the Sharia court and not the common courts. Moorthy's case was one where the court concluded that if there is any inquiry whether a non-Muslim had gotten a Muslim or not, it ought to be chosen by Sharia court, not by High Court. And the Moorthy's family testing the transformation of Moorthy despite fact that they had solid evidence, but it was anything but a situation where the family could not demonstrate that Moorthy's transformation to Islam was flawed. And the next one, refuse family. Refuse Moorthy's family challenge. The High Court refused to certain a suit Moorthy's family challenged the conversion of Moorthy's even they had strong evidence. It was not a case where the family was unable to prove that Moorthy conversion to Islam was questionable. what the High Court just said, I cannot hear this case because you must go to Sharia court. However, the Moorthy's uh, wife, the Moorthy's widow, was not Muslim and cannot bring a case in the Sharia court. Therefore, she was denied a right of hearing, which is supposed to be basic tenet of law. There were no documents to prove Moorthy's conversion except for his army colleagues saying so. The Sharia court seemed very willing to certify a person uh, as a Muslim convert without much a judicial inquiry. However, it is near to impossible for such a person to get out of Islam. More so, if his conversion needs to be challenged, the civil courts will decline to hear this case. And the next one, the last one, how are non-Muslim how are non-Muslims affected or likely to be affected by Moorthy's case? There could be a variety of situations where a non-Muslim could be wrongly identified as a Muslim. One would be a Moorthy kind of situation. This was the case where there is a serious doubt that a conversion to Islam took place. Moorthy's widow brought evidence of Moorthy's state of uh, dementia and his uninterrupted practice of Hindu rites. In his state of mind, Moorthy could have succumbed of his colleagues' persuasion to become a Muslim in the most informal ways. He may not have meant to be included to convert to Islam, intended convert to Islam, but another could be where a non-Muslim is caught in a khawlat situation with a Muslim and is pressured or threatened to convert to Islam and to the party, marry the other party. So that was from me. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Shukri Firdaus bin Shaharuddin 1910611. I will explain about conflict of jurisdiction between civil and Sharia courts.
To conclude all this catastrophe, the dispute between Moorthy's family and the court shows that the Sharia court has a very high power and influence out of all the courts when it comes to religious matters, that even the Supreme Court could not intervene in the matter. It could also be seen from the example of the Lena Joy case that even the court rejected her application, and then her identification card was never modified, so her religion was still Muslim on her ID card, and that was exactly what happened with Moorthy. And this dispute also created tension between the Malay and Indian communities, and also the Muslim and Hindu communities. And that's all I could say. Thank you for watching.